Hey guys, doing a pre-game, literally 5 minutes before the game, because I'm a lazy trash, and well, had a lot of things to do, cause there was a lot of drama about U4 game. I mean, it's a big game, and then the new patch just came out a few days ago. It's quite unstable, has a lot of issues, so we didn't start a new game yesterday. Just did a pre-game. Anyway, back to wiki. Finally managed to win a huge war against Russia and France. Was actually far more painful than it looks right now. So in the actual previous game, what happened was France and Russia were kinda isolated in Europe, since Spain decided to join our side. Now the huge thing that France had was a military tech advantage and just better generals overall, until the point where Austria wasn't able to attack up, and I just got that 5 attack general like a few months before the war. They barely even mattered. In any case, I was the only side in that war that had military tech up to date. Of course, Russia was also behind in tech, but they didn't really fight me so much. They mostly fought Austrians, and most of the fighting was done on the French front. Now the war went very, let's say, it was really hard to predict how the things would work out, since USA actually wasn't in the first war. Was waiting for, well, actually they were, but then they surrendered and they joined a separate war on against CSA, which, as you can see, doesn't exist anymore. Was annexed by USA, since UK couldn't intervene in that war. What we were expecting was that UK and Austria would be able to push into Russia, and then I would be able to probably hold on France solo again. I mean, in Saarbrücken, since this was the state before the war. But unfortunately, for I don't know what reason, Austria called SGF in the war again. Didn't really like that move, but that meant that we had to commit to French front for much more than we should have, really. And also, another annoying thing was that British general, which was the best general we had on the Western Front, kept taking the lead in every battle. That meant we had like 2 or 3 techs less than France, since UK didn't have any mil techs. And it was really annoying for me, because I kept screaming on TeamSpeak, and if you watched the previous stream, then you probably heard it. So kept screaming to British player to remove his general, but he didn't until the end of the war. So we had major disadvantage pretty much in every battle against France, but somehow we managed to hold out, and then once Spain finally joined the war, our numerical superiority on the Western Front started kicking in, since Russia wasn't able to just completely crush Austria and, just pour into Germany and Austria from both sides and then just win the war that way. Unfortunately, one thing that happened during the game was that our host crashed and no one was able to take the save just when we were about to knock out France from the war. What happened was we had entire France occupied, and then the major battle happening in Dunkirk, where we got his troops surrounded in Lille, Arras, and Amiens. But then Netherlands, out of nowhere, decided to give military access to France, which is really painful, because France was then able to send all of their troops back to Russia through Dutchland and through my land, since I didn't have any troops in Germany anymore. Somehow we managed to catch a few of the French regiments over there, killed them. France was at that point, I think, down to 100 brigades, and I'm not sure how many Russia had, but Russia was still halted by Austria over there in mountains, and before they were able to get into Hungary. So at that point, host crashed, and was really annoying and very painful for us to just go in to save pretty much 1 year behind the date at that point, and that meant that France still had all of his troops over there. There were huge battles happening in, I think, Melun and Paris. But what happened was that Austria started having terrible battles against Russia, and our battles against France didn't go that well either. So Austria was getting crushed in that replay of the save, and fortunately for us, we managed to somehow just completely surround French troops so they weren't able to retreat into the Netherlands or Russia. We managed to stack wipe them, and France was completely out of brigades, fully occupied, but we didn't want to focus and add too many war goals on France, since we had tons of war goals on Russia. So France, after waiting for a few months, decided to just accept a separate surrender, and I got Alsace-Lorraine back finally. At that point, if Russia surrendered, I would have been able to form Germany, because we had all the war goals added there. And what happened was, well, Austria was almost fully occupied, like 80% over there. Russia was down to, I believe, 200 brigades, which was more or less what we all had combined. And big thing was Russia had no miltech. I was at max miltech, I think. Austria also catching up, so we would have just crushed them in all the battles, and we pretty much did. At the end of the war, Russia was down to like 20 brigades or something. So we figured that France can at any point just remobilize, rebuild their army, and just truce break on me, and then we would probably lose both wars. So we decided not to go further into Russia. We occupied like Poland and all of our war goals, so we would have ticking war score, and then just mostly let rebels occupy Russia, because we really don't want to commit and lose more men to attrition. And indeed, France did break the truce. At that point, Switzerland actually held Savoy, and I made a huge mistake reinforcing Switzerland in that war, because they lost Savoy and I lost Alsace-Lorraine. Probably the better move was to just let Switzerland lose Savoy, maybe even one more state, although I think France was at very high infamy. Let's check that. They have 13 now. So I think France had no infamy to add any war goals on Switzerland at that point. In any case, made a mistake there, lost Alsace-Lorraine, but was able to win the war against Russia. So at least we now have all the cores in Russia. The only thing missing for Germany to form is Alsace-Lorraine. And then there was a huge drama about that Gettysburg War, which I think I'll have to just reply in the upcoming session, but it shouldn't be a huge deal. Now the only question is whether we want to destroy Netherlands for joining on the French side or not, but I don't know. I'm quite pissed that they gave military access to France in that first war, and then they joined the second war against Switzerland, which was really a dumb move. But we'll see what will happen next. I know that USA and UK made some deals, so I don't think they will be fighting anymore. Also, I'm not sure if UK will be giving up any of these islands. I think they're keeping them. But what could happen next is we could see some intervention from USA into European stuff, or they will just expand further into South America. But given that Japan is already there, we might see some conflicts between Japan and USA, which would actually be very interesting. I think they are evenly matched right now. Clearly Japan should have some advantage in numbers, because I think they have more population, 15 million to almost 10 million. Yeah, will be more or less equal. Oh, sorry, the phone. Anyway, that's pretty much it for the pregame. I'll just leave some screen stuff and we'll be back when the game starts. Should be in 5 minutes. Anyway, thanks for watching. See you guys.